Hola, welcome, Bem-vindo to episode 19 of Yarn Stories with Olivia. Today is Saturday, March 8th, 2025, and I'm coming to you from a sunny but very, very windy south coast of Massachusetts. This is my little corner here on YouTube where I talk about my love of knitting, crocheting, and all things yarn. I am a lifetime yarn crafter. I consider myself an equal opportunity yarn consumer, and you're going to see a little bit of that as I talk about my works in progress, my recent finished objects, as well as some new acquisitions and some new ideas for gift making. And for those of you that are returning, welcome back. For those of you that are new, I have had a few new subscribers. Well, thank you for joining me. And I'm going to take this opportunity to do a little intro of myself. For those of you that are new, for those of you that have already heard this, you can skip the intro part. I am, as I said, in the south coast of Massachusetts. I am a librarian. I am the mother of 2 adult sons who still live at home with us. And I am a cat rescuer. I am a proud fur parent to Gary, our 4-year-old gray tabby rescue. My intro of hola is because I am bilingual in Portuguese and English. I was born in Portugal and have lived in the south coast of Massachusetts, where there is a very big population of Portuguese speakers in my community. So I've maintained my fluency in Portuguese living in this community. I have a little bit of a following from friends in Portugal or viewers in Portugal who are able to follow me along here in English. We do communicate in Portuguese via the comments. I want to thank you all for joining me in here as well. And someday I may have the courage to podcast in Portuguese, but I'm still learning a lot of the terms. Yeah, I'm learning some of the terminology, and someday, who knows, I might throw in some Portuguese terms in here. But for now, thank you for listening to me. Where you can find me, and I should at this point here also say that I have in the playback of the last video, I had a couple of errors. Not errors, I talk faster than my brain can go sometimes. If you find that what I said didn't make sense, I do make sure that the notes are correct on Ravelry. So if I misspoke on a needle size or yarn weight or a pattern name, if you go over and find me on Ravelry as Olivia 30, you'll find all of the actual corrected information. Sometimes I mess up on yardage and meters, and so it'll be there. You can also find me as Olivia 30M on Instagram, where I post all of my makes, my works in progress, and just little life moments that pop up here and there that I put on my grid. If you are a returning viewer, take a look and make sure you're a subscriber. I did have somebody comment that they didn't realize they've been watching all of the episodes, but they didn't realize they had subscribed. If you're not a subscriber, please consider doing so. Subscribe, click like, share, all of those YouTube things that will help grow my channel. I am not a monetized channel. I have it as non-monetized, so try not to have any ads pop up. If it does, it's YouTube doing that. It's not me. So bear with me. I think until I get to 1,000, I think YouTube is going to be throwing in some ads. So I'm getting there. I'm almost at 900. So I'm getting there slowly but surely. And I'm appreciative of everybody that has found me and spent time with me and has commented, because I'll tell you, the comments are just wonderful. I do have some winners to announce. I'll put that towards the middle. I am overwhelmed with the generosity of people and their wonderful comments, and I wish I had something to send to all of you. I did come up with a couple of extra things to throw in. If you caught my little mini episode, which I uploaded last week, I was planning to record last week. The flu hit me badly, and I was in no shape to record, so I put up a little vlog of what I had also found that I would like to share. So I actually had another bag and another 9-inch needle set that I am going to share. So I do have prizes for 4 or 5 viewers. We're going to talk about my 5 finished objects my 4 new works in progress. Yes, new works in progress. In addition to what I've already shown you in the last episode, I think I said I had about 17 or 18 works in progress. Well, I've just added 4 more to that. Reason why? Because I've had a bit of time to knit in between recordings. The last time I recorded was February 2nd. So here it is today, March 8th. It's been a while. I didn't upload until the 14th because I wanted to have it on the date of the actual podiversary. In between that time and today, I did have a knitting retreat weekend that I went to with my local knitting friends. So that was some dedicated knitting time. So let's start with the most obvious finished object. It's what I'm wearing. This is the Wilfreda sweater. This is the Wilfreda sweater by designer Wenche Roald. And I'll show you what it looks like. This is what the pattern looks like on Ravelry. This was a work in progress with the last episode, and it flew off the needles. Being at a knitting retreat with some dedicated knitting time allowed me to make some good progress on it. And then, of course, last weekend's head cold and lots of guilt-free knitting time, it got finished. Plus a few other things that I'm going to show you. But this is brilliant. I absolutely love this top. The best way to describe this, and Sophie of Cozy Meadow Knits mentioned this on her podcast recently too. I had seen how she had made one. She just made 2, and I loved the ones that she made, and it inspired me to cast one on as well. And the way she described it, and I thought she nailed it on the head, because it is, the way she described it is exactly how I would describe it, which is if you've done a ranunculus or if you have made a love note, this is sort of in that same knitting style. It's as if those 2 had a baby, it would have been the Wilfreda. When Sophie mentioned that on her podcast, I had such a good chuckle at it because it was exactly how I was thinking about it. It is similar to the Love Note in that it has a high-low hem, which I absolutely love. I have it so that it's hip length, and it just fits beautifully with a pair of slacks. It'll also look really nicely with over a dress, a short sleeve dress. And what can I say about it? I will say that the yarn that I used is fabulous yarn. It is yarn that I picked up in Porto when I was there on vacation in June of 2024. The yarn I used for this top is Feliz e Punto. It is a 75% seda burera and 25% lino. It is a hand-dyed yarn from Spain. It is, the colorway is hard for me to determine what that is. The handwriting is hard for me to read. And it is a beautiful, lightweight, it just, the drape on it is gorgeous. I had picked up 3 skeins of this yarn, and I had used about a quarter of it for the stripes on my Isabel Kramer's Pia 39. So I had plenty of this yarn to make another garment. I just didn't realize that in less than 2 skeins to make this top. I did use all of what was left over from the Pia 39 plus 1 full skein, and I'm going to show you how much I have left of this yarn. Well, actually I have a little bit more because I still have my little gauge swatch in case I needed to break into it, because I was hoping to not break up into the skein to finish the sweater. And I combined it with this mole here. And this mole here is Lana Grossa silk here in a peachy colorway. And the 2 combined made this gorgeous fabric. This is what the yarn, here's the gauge swatch, and This is what the yarn would have looked like without the mohair. So beautiful earth tones, canyon colors, which is right up my alley. I love these kind of colors. But wanting to use the yarn for this top with the mohair was a great choice. It fits perfectly. It feels perfect. It's lightweight, it's warm, it's everything I love in a sweater to wear as something for work or something to go out for dinner. Highly recommend the pattern. It looks like it's a little bit involved in the texture. It's not. It's a cable in here, but it's only 2 rows to do the cable. Literally 2 rows. Everything else is knit, purl, slip stitches, yarn overs, knit 2 together. And all of the increases are in the texture. Once you're done with the texture, you're on to sleeve separation, and then it's just knit, knit, knit. And it is, the sleeves are no decreases, and then a rapid decrease, again, very similar to the Love Note. And then you've got your cuff with the smaller needles. I should say that this was a US 10 needle 6. Give me a second. I always forget what the millimeter is. The US 10, and it is, yeah, US 10 6mm needle for the body, and it's a US 7 4.5 millimeter for casting on for the cuffs and for the hem on this. So it has the rapid decrease to the cuffs, and because I was wanting to just use the yarn that I had without breaking into that other skein, I chose to go with bracelet length, I guess that's what you would call this, which is a favorite length for me anyway. I have short arms. I don't like the sleeves down to here because I find myself too, when I'm at work, constantly doing this. So this way I don't have to do any of it. It's there for me already, and I absolutely love the length of it. Yeah, and so let me talk to you about how sometimes mistakes are made, but they're correctable. I am a process knitter, but I'm also a project knitter. I love to have an end project, but in the process of making something, if I'm learning along the way, great. So I did learn on this one. And this is my confession moment. So I was working it was going well. And then I did the test fit, and it was okay. It's looking good. And it was only when I got to the hem that I realized, I think I made a mistake, which is I ended up casting on with a size 10 needles, not the recommended needle size that's on the pattern, which is the 7, the 4.5 millimeter. Why did I do that? Well, I'll tell you. Let me see if I can dig it out here. Where did I put it? So the pattern says to cast on with the smaller needles. So Olivia takes that literally, cast on with the smaller needles. So Olivia casts on with a 16-inch size 10 needles. Olivia should have cast on with a size 7. So the neckband was really loose. And I'll put the picture here of what it looked like when I wore it to work. It did come to here a little bit. And I said, if I'm going to wear it more, it's going to end up getting looser and looser. I did do the 7s for the cuff and the hem, but this was way too loose. How did I fix it? I had planned to do with an elastic, but I didn't need to because it was so wide. I didn't need the elastic. What I did was I had enough yarn left over that I got my crochet hook out, and I did a slip stitch with what was left of the yarn around the neck. And I did I'll put a little video here of how I did it. I used just a size G crochet hook. Probably gonna say, but trust me, it's a size G. And I just went around. I knew that the collar had 82 stitches, so I slip stitched 82 stitches with the G hook, and it was perfect. And I'll show you, because when I put it on today, I realized that I hadn't. I think I still have it back here. What I had left in the yarn because I will still weave this in. This is what I've got left in the yarn. This much. So if I had needed to go back to make this looser, I still had enough yarn. So I'll be weaving this end and finishing it. But I felt good that I used up all of the yarn that I had planned to use. The yarn management has been brilliant. I do have this little bit left, which again, the guesstimate on how much to get in the mohair to go for this top was spot on. I'll find something to use this little bit of mohair on. But yeah, what a successful make. I am so happy with how this came out. And if I haven't said it enough times already, I highly recommend the pattern. In fact, so much so, I'll give you a little hint here. One of my new cast-ons is another Wilfreda. That's coming. So that's that one. And the other finished object that I have is, and speaking of Nancy, it is a pair of socks. These are my February socks. These are the Splendiferous socks, a pattern by Nancy Wheeler. Knit Sip Happy. This is a pattern that I made a pair in January in the black and off-white, and I had done the pattern just up to here, the cuff, and then the foot had been solid, but for these I wanted to make the whole pattern because it's absolutely beautiful. And it's up so fast because you instinctively want to keep knitting to get to the next color. I went with this yarn, which is, put this down here. So the yarn that I'm using for this is Rosarios 4 Meia, which is a yarn that I was gifted from Portugal, from my friend Manuela. And the color is also a Rosarios 4 Meia. Manuela had sent me 2 of each, so I was able to do these socks, and I'm using the rest for another project. So I do the medium size, which is the 64 stitch. My preferred needle size is the size US 2 or 2.75 millimeter with the 64 stitches. It fits my foot and leg just right. It's also what works for my husband and son. They don't like the density of a sock that's made with a size 1 needle. Yeah, I did. Nancy has as a rounded toe at the end, so I love the rounded toe look of it too. Yeah, so February socks done. Finished object number 3, and it's one that you haven't seen. We talked about it. Actually, Gary made the decision for me of what my next little scarf should be, and he chose the yarn, and I have followed with his mandate, and I made a Sophie scarf, another one. And this one I used the Rosarios 4 Iaque in this brick colorway, which is just color 19. Talked about this in the last episode too. This was yarn that was gifted to me by the team of Rosarios 4 when I went to the knit festival for me to make something with it, to show off the yarn. And it is absolutely stunning. It is so soft. It is so lightweight. Again, this pattern, everybody knows what this pattern is. It's a petite knit pattern, the Sophie scarf, and it's up beautifully with all kinds of yarn. And this is where I'll correct myself. The last one that I did, the green one, that was a worsted weight, and that's why I used a size 7 needle on that one. This is a DK yarn, so for this one I used a size 5 knitting needle. And it's another one of those that I see myself wearing and loving wearing it, and I can see why so many people have knit this scarf as a gift. This one is like the other, is going to be for me because it's way too pretty. I shouldn't say that because a lot of my friends deserve some pretty makes, but this is my color. This is me. I love these. I love these little I love these little scarves. Yeah, so you can wear it tied up. I mean, depending on the weather, I can make it tight or I can make it loose, and just wear it as just a little jaunty little scarf. And yeah, so there's my Sophie scarf, and this is what I have left from it. Just dropped it. I was weighing it to get a sense of, so that I could use the whole thing, but at some point I just started to decrease, and I said, well, whatever I've got left, I'll use it for some little project afterwards. But isn't that so pretty? So Iaque, or Iaque, should say it's Iaque. So this yarn is, it is, pardon me as I get my bifocals here, it is 89% organic wool, and it's 11% Iaque. It was a 50-gram ball, or a 200-meter ball of yarn. Very nice. And if I ever get to Portugal again, which I think I will, I will be grabbing up some more of this yarn in the other colors. I don't know if I should keep it on. I'm going to take it off because it's a little warm, but there you go. Finished object number 3. Here's the other 2 FOs, and these are special because these are not by any big name pattern designer. The other 2 objects that I want to show you have been designed by, or have been written by a very little known knitter. And this is the pattern that I want to show you. So last episode I talked about the granny square crochet berets that were really popular on my team, and one of them, and I gifted them. I've made 4 or 5. I've gifted to them. In fact, one asked for a raspberry beret, and I did make her one, but I didn't get a picture of her. Someday I'll have to remember to grab that picture and put it on my Ravelry page. But one of them has long red hair and considers herself as having a very big head, and asked if I would make her one as well. And I remembered that there's this Slouchy beret pattern on Ravelry that works really well for bigger size heads. Knowing that because I've made them for other people as gifts. So I made one for Allie, and this is the pattern. So this is a knit beret. This one's not crochet. This is, for this I used Barocco Campus yarn, which is a super bulky weight yarn. I had 2 of these skeins in stash, and I used one for this, and this is what I've got left. I didn't weigh it, so I don't know how much is left, but I'm going to apply this amount to this, and I am going to be making a matching or corresponding cowl to go with it, to gift it to her. I haven't had time to make the cowl, hence why it's still here. So this is the beret. Let's see how it's going to look big on me, but this is what it looks like. It has a much bigger circumference in the back to make it a little bit more like a tam. Yeah, I think you can see that. And with this, it matches. So this hat, let me tell you who the designer for this hat is. This is the pattern, free on Ravelry. It's called Olivia's Slouchy Hat, and it's a pattern by me. This is mine. It's not much of a pattern. If you look at it, it is basically notes on how to make the hat. And if you look at what I've got on Ravelry, it's going back to 2015. It was made on Publisher, Microsoft Publisher. In 2015, a friend of mine asked me if I could repair a hat that her daughter had that she had bought at Old Navy or the Gap, and it was falling apart. And we were camping, we were at a camping weekend, and I happened to have some yarn in the camper with me and the right needles, and I said, sure, let me see what I can figure out. And I figured out by counting the stitches how to make the brim, and then I knew it was a yarn over knit two together pattern and then decreases. So I played around with it. I do have a prototype of it. I still have the prototype from 2015. It lives in my camper. I do use it when we're at the campground. And after making several attempts at how her daughter wanted it looser, slouchier, I finally came up with one that was exactly what she was looking for. So off she had it, and I decided to make a few more to gift. And the yarn that I used for the original was Loops and Threads, or Michael's Charisma yarn. So the pattern is written exactly for the Charisma yarn, which is a bulky, which is a size, it's a weight 5. And the pattern calls for a size 10, a US 10 needle, or a size 11 needle as well, 10 and 11, to make the hat. And let me just show you the one, what it looks like in the Charisma. Here is a red one that I made with a Charisma yarn. This is the yarn. This is what I've got left from one skein. So one skein of the Charisma, which is, it is 109 yards, 3.5 ounces, or 100 grams. With a size 10 and a size 11 US needles, you'll end up with this left. If your gauge, yes, I know how to say that word. I can't say gauge. Someone suggested I could say tension if I had a problem with gauge. And I'll tell you why I have a hard time with the word gauge. Let me take a side trip here. I have a hard time with the word gauge because I was a Portuguese. I learned how to read first in Portuguese, and then I learned how to read in English. When I learned to read is you had to pronounce the letters. Well, A and U together is ow, ow sound in Portuguese. When I started to learn to read in English, I would pronounce the words by the letter. So gauge in my brain to this day, as soon as I see that U, it's still gouge. I want to say gay-u, G-A-U-G-E. But I know it's gauge. I can ignore the U. I can do it. But sometimes the brain gets stuck. Just like I have a real hard time saying the word salmon. Sometimes I come out of salmon. No, it's salmon. You don't pronounce the L. I know this, but sometimes the tongue, the word comes out faster than the brain can tell it what to say. Back to the yarn, shall we? Anyway, so here's what it looks like for the yarn weight and the instructions that I've written on this pattern, which you can find for free on Ravelry, Olivia 30. Go have a look. Written in 2015, as I said, just notes. And I did put it up on Ravelry in 2017 because I had a lot of people asking me how to make them. I made them for the craft shows. People wanted the pattern. I'm more than happy to share my notes on how I make things. So I put it up in this publisher sheet. I printed them out. I brought them with me to the craft shows, and I passed them out to people if they wanted to make it. My friend Robin has made several of these. Robin is Histo Knitter on Ravelry, and she had made several of these. She was my test knitter. And so here's what the red one looks like. And it's same. Has back, I think you can see that. It sits really nicely. It's just the right accessory hat. The crochet ones are nice too, but if you're a knitter, not a crocheter, I'm giving you a pattern that you can make. And this is great as a gift, and I'm making some as well to enter into the gift giving mal. which is hosted, it's Gift Giving 2025, hosted by Marie of Old Thyme Knits. And this totally qualifies for it. I'll be making a bunch, adding it to the basket. If I can stop bringing it to work and giving it to the team, I may have some to give away at the holiday season. But it's just so hard for me. When I make it, I just want to share it. So here it is, Olivia's Slouchy hat. And somebody actually on Ravelry posted that it's very similar. And I hadn't seen this. It's been a while since I looked at my Ravelry page on this. They posted that this was very similar to the Olivia Benson hat, Special Victims, yeah, SVU, right? Special Victims Unit, Olivia Benson, Mariska Hargitay wears on the show. And they posted a picture of her wearing something similar. But, this is free. I'm sure there's a pattern out there similar to this. But these are my maths on how I came up with this. So pop on over and grab yourself a free copy. And if you make it, let me know. Yeah, I should start a hashtag on Instagram for this, shouldn't I? I haven't put these on Instagram yet, but I do have them on Ravelry. Only other thing to say about these is, so for this one, because it ended up being a super bulky weight yarn, it worked really well with a size 10 needles for the brim and the size 11 for the body. If you find that when you do, like with this, I tend to do the 10 and 11, but I've had people say, oh, after I wear it, it starts to get really loose. You can always go down to the size 9 for the hem and continue with the size 11. You decide, you make one, see how it fits, and play with it to what works for you. What I can say on this one is, because I did this so intuitively without even thinking about it, or it was a Microsoft publisher error and I didn't catch it until now. I did make a little correction on my Ravelry page. Row 32 should say knit 1, knit 2 together, and I go right to the knit 2 together at the end. So there's one line missing, but I've made a correction on Ravelry. Okie dokie, there we go. So those are my 5 finished objects. Let's start talking about the whips, the new whips. Between the knitting retreat time and the flu and sitting and just needing to cast on something new to cheer myself up, so what I showed you at the last episode that I was going to cast on, I haven't done anything with that. It's exactly where I left it. What I did cast on, because it was a little delayed already. What I did cast on was it's a knit along that I am doing with my group of knitting friends. There's 4 of us. There's Anne, Sue, and Robin, and myself. And Robin had 4 skeins of this yarn in stash that she chose to share with us. We each got the same skein, and with the plan of us casting on February 14th, each casting on a pair of socks, whatever pattern we want, and then we'll compare at the end. This is a low stress cal. It has no deadline. It was just for the fun of making the socks and then getting together and comparing them. We meet sometimes twice a month, sometimes once a month on Saturdays to share our knitting progress, show what our projects are. And the yarn that Robin had was this Socks That Rock by Blue Moon Fibers, and the colorway is Bleeding Hearts, and it is a medium weight sock yarn, and this is the color, which is absolutely stunning. And I should say I've got this in the bag that she also gifted us, which says we're on a fiber diet. A high fiber diet. Yeah, so the yarn is absolutely stunning, and the socks I chose to knit up, and there is a little bit of a theme here of Nancy Wheeler and Knits Up Happy. As I said, I own just about all of her patterns. I decided to use this yarn for the Tittygaga socks. This is what it is looking like. see if the sun behaves enough for you to see. The pattern is stunning. The yarn is gorgeous. And I've already finished the decreases, and is the foot to work on. Let me take it off here so I can show you what it looks like. The stitch in the front is so pretty. Oh, maybe this way. It has this beautiful little cable in the front, 2 rows with cables, and then it's got this other texture of some yarn overs knit 2 together. And in the back, Nancy also has a little bit of a pattern. I did miss one of her steps, but I didn't go back to fix it, so I just continued on with it as just a knit without putting the pattern in the back was similar to this with a knit 2 yarn overs here. It was supposed to be the column was supposed to look like this, but I just got into knitting and I left it as just a solid column. So that's the back, that's the front, and it looks stunning on. I had to stop working on it because of the other things that I have going, but this will be finished by this evening. I'm going to finish. This is the plan, is for knitting this one. Again, a US 2.75 millimeter, medium size, 64 stitches. And these are going to be for me. And I don't think there's much more that I can say about this except that I'm looking forward to seeing what everybody else has done with their socks. I think Sue, oh, and I should say, we gave this cowl a name. Well, Robin came up with it, and it was brilliant. We've called this the Rosa cowl. Robin, Olivia, Sue, and Anne. And it made sense since it's kind of a rose color. And by the way, it's March 8th. Happy International Women's Day to all of my women friends out there. This is something that goes along those lines too. Women empowering each other, working on something together. So the next work in progress is another Shawlette shawl scarf, and it's called a Harmonia or Harmonia. The Harmonia shawl scarflet by the designer Filipa Carneiro, Filipa you know on Ravelry. She is a designer for Rosario Quatro yarn, and she had just put this out as a free pattern on Ravelry. It has been translated into English. It was available in Portuguese. It is now available in English as well. And the yarn that it calls for is not a yarn that I have access to here in the US. It is, the yarn is this Rosario Quatro Abraço. But it is a light DK yarn. And I just happen to have some light DK yarn in stash, right? And better yet, I had yarn that was a Rosario Quatro yarn that I picked up also in Portugal in June of 2024 from a lovely yarn shop, Lopus Xavier. They had 3 balls left of this yarn, Cânhamo tweed, which is very, very similar to Barocco Remix. Very similar. It's a 71% merino wool. It is 10% cânhamo, which is hemp. It is 10% alpaca and 9% viscose. So very similar. It feels the same and it's the same. Yeah. Now let me show you the scarf. Now that I've spent so much time talking about the yarn. So here is my progress on the scarf. I am just now starting the decrease portion. So this works just like the Sophie scarf. You increase, increase, increase till you get to a certain point and then you decrease. And this is what it looks like. It has these beautiful lace edges. It is going to look, well, it's going to blow out a little bit here because I don't have the right background, right? Because I'm already wearing such a pale top. But it's going to wear the same way as a Sophie. Well, a little bit more because it's got a little bit more depth here. And so it's going to be like this. Well, it's probably not it. But look how pretty that is. And why I'm enjoying working on this one, 2 reasons. One, it's been a long time since I've knit with straight needles. I am using a US 5. So is that a 4.5 millimeter or 4 millimeter? Nope, it's a 3.75 millimeter or 3.5 millimeter. And I'm using these Knit Picks needles, this rainbow wood, which I absolutely love. So that's been fun using straight needles, but also because the pattern is written in the traditional Portuguese way of labeling it as lace by music, which is basically it's X's and O's. We're used to having everything written out, you know, knit, the K for knit, K2, TOG for knit 2 together, yarn over is a YO. In this pattern, the way the instructions are written, it's X's and O's and 2 or 3, number 2 or 3. When you first look at it, it's a little, I don't know if I'm going to understand it, but boy, do you understand it, and you get it fast. And when I started, and I've got this on my Ravelry page, but I'll show it to you here. It is a free pattern, so it's fine for me to share. When I first got the pattern, because that is how it's written, I made a little note on the side of how I would read it if it was completely written in English. So the pattern is translated into English, but the pattern, the lace portion of it, it's still in the way it reads in Portuguese. So the way it reads is, it'll say 0x0x03. Huh? But all that means is it's 0 is a yarn over, X is knit 2 together, a 0 on its own is just a yarn over, and then 3 is knit 3. Once you start doing that, it's intuitive. So 0x3 is yarn over, knit 3 together. 0x is yarn over, knit 2. So once you start, it just, after the second time I did the repeat, I didn't have to look at the notes anymore. I could easily just go right down here. So do not feel like it's not easy to follow. It is. And if you want to try something new, which is something that I do often because I enjoy it, I enjoy testing myself, seeing if I can learn a new knitting technique. Just reading this now, charts, I can read charts, but sometimes I lose where I am and I have to keep using my marker or the tape. Something about the X's and O's I picked up really, really fast. If you want to give it a try, I say pop on over. It's the Harmonia shawl, Harmonia by Filipa. It's a free pattern for Rosarios 4, but you can use any light DK weight yarn. It was my choice to use this Carneiro tweed because I had it in stash, and I need to use up all the yarn that I bought from Portugal in June, which if you have been following me and listening to me all this time, and if I still have your attention, most of the yarn I'm knitting with is yarn that I bought in June. And there's a reason why I'm working it down. And you guess what it is? Because I need to make room here where all of my yarn from Portugal is. Because I think I'm going back in late fall. And since I'm going to want to buy more yarn, I better use up what I have. Let's see. Now, with that in mind, about it being Portuguese yarn, let me show you my last work in progress. Well, last for this episode, because this whole bunch of other works in progress that need to be finished. The next one I have to show you is using yarn, again, from June. Well, actually, no, I shouldn't say June. This is yarn from August, from when I was in Portugal. If you watched my episode, I forgot what number it was, 8 or 9, we were in the Azores for our vacation, and I had some yarn delivered to the house we were staying at. The yarn that I received was this gorgeousness from Pontinhos ao Vento yarn in Soft Sock DK. This is 85% merino, superwash, 15% nylon, and it's 100 grams, 400 meters. And the colorway is Cabernet. Look how pretty that is. So I have 6 skeins of this yarn. No, correction, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4. I have 5 skeins, which is enough for, can you guess? Another Wilfreda. It's a DK weight yarn. This pattern is a DK weight pattern. Hence the fingering weight, light fingering weight of the Felici Punt with the mohair. But the DK yarn, perfect. So guess what I did? And this is living in the yarn, in the bag Pontinhos ao Vento that she had gifted me. It's a beautifully embroidered bag. When I had bought yarn from her at the yarn festival, I got the bag. And let me show you. Here's my progress on my Cabernet Wilfreda. Look at how pretty. I have finished the cables, the 2 cables, the two times you have 2 cables, and I'm doing the rest of the texture now. I'm about to do this texture, and then I'm ready for sleeve separation. And this one I cast on with the right needles. I did. That's the size 7 needle, and it's so I've got the right size neckband, and yeah, I think this color is just stunning. So I am just, I'm obsessed. I'm obsessed with this pattern. I love this yarn. Maria's wrong. The yarn is gorgeous. The color is gorgeous. I am so glad I chose this Cabernet. And I look forward to seeing some more of your yarn at some point. I can't get there again in June for the festival, but we'll see, maybe in the fall if I'm able to grab some from you when I'm back in Portugal. So between this top and the socks and the scarf, those have been on my rotation of knitting those last few days. I will eventually get back to the other things. I still have the cowls that I want to finish with a yarn from Craft House Magic. I've got tons of other projects that I've got here already ready, and but right now this is what I'm enjoying knitting. And so, as I said at the beginning, I'm an equal opportunity yarn consumer. As you can see from the yarn I've shown you today, I've got a variety of different yarns, from hand-dyed merino DK weight yarn to yarn with Iaque, yarn with hemp, some acrylic yarn, some bulky yarn, super bulky yarn, lace weight yarn. It's a hodgepodge. But I just love all kinds of yarn, and I just love making projects. So, and oh, I didn't show you where I was keeping my ball of yarn. Look at my cute little basket. This is a little basket from Fiber Hustle. Chip makes these adorable little baskets. They're great to put in a skein of yarn if you're doing socks, but in this case I'm keeping the ball of the yarn inside that other large bag. They just had a shop update, and I want to show you what I just got from them as well. Those are my current works in progress. So for the gift away, I wasn't sure how the random comment picker generator worked, but I got it to work. I figured out I could type in the word bag or bags, and I got the comments. I then realized that it was coming up with some people didn't want the needles, they just wanted the bags or the yarn. And so it took me a little time to figure out how to go about doing it. I should have been more specific. If you want the needle, say you want the needle. If you want the bag, say you want the bag. But I did manage to get a good grouping. And I have to say, some of you were so kind to say that you couldn't use the needles that somebody else could use. So I actually have, for the gift away, I actually have the needles as a gift away, separate from the bags and the yarn. So as a disclaimer. The first name that came up when I did the random comment picker generator, and I'll put a picture on here. The first name that came up didn't want the needles, just the bag and the yarn. So the person that came up first for the small bag and the Puntinhos ao Vento yarn is Lee Gifford 3261. I think Lee has been along with me from the beginning, and it was the first name that popped up when I hit find comment. So Lee, congratulations. Get in touch with me, and I'm going to do this the way everybody else does it. Get in touch with me via Ravelry or Instagram if you follow me on Instagram, or email me on this channel. I do have the email listed on here for how you can reach me. And let me know what your mailing address is so I can get this out to you. I am not going to ask you for anything. You need to ask, actually, you need to let me know how I can send this to you. I think if you've been watching podcasts, you know that, yeah, don't give out your information. There's my email. Send me a message on Ravelry or send me a message on Instagram, and then I'll get this out to you. So Lee, that's number one. And then for the medium-sized bag and yarn, the name that came up for that, and this is, if you didn't watch the mini-sode, I had put that I found another skein of yarn that I would like to share, because I was getting so many lovely comments and I wish I could share more yarn. So the medium-sized bag and the yarn, which is Catalyst Yarns, which is hand-dyed in New England, and I picked it up from a local yarn shop in Plymouth. It's called Beach Day. It's an 80-20 blend, 400 yards sock yarn. With the medium bag, it goes to Diana YJ2KO. I don't know why I'm showing you my notes. So Diana Y2JKO. Same thing. Let me know. Get in touch with me, and I'll get this sent out to you. For the needle, and I did put that I had 2 of these, and I still have one up for grabs. If you are interested in just receiving the 9-inch circular needles on this video, could you comment that you're interested on the 9-inch circular needle? And when I do the comment picker, that's what I'm going to type in as a keyword, and I'll get this sent out to you. But for this one, because this person said that they were interested in giving it a try, it is Drac B is interested in just the needles. So same thing, get in touch with me and I'll get these sent out to you. The other that I had was, I had a largish bag that I didn't, so I had a small, that medium, and a large bag that I didn't get to show you, but I also had that I wasn't using. I also have the tote bag. I bought a lot of bags. This one is the large bag, and this one is going to Donna Bruce 1323. This one is the larger, the backpack version. So I'll get this sent out to you. So yeah, so let me know. And I didn't, some people put they wanted the yarn, the bags, and the needles, and I don't want to just send the needles, because people that wanted the yarn, the bag, and the needle might be expecting all 3, and it would be fair to send out just a needle without the yarn in the bag. So let me know in the comments below if you want the needles, and I'll get that sent out to you. And thank you all so very much. I would love to share more of what I have, and yeah, and maybe at some point I do is a pattern giveaway, which will be easier because I have people that are watching me in Australia, in Portugal, Canada, in the UK. I could simply do a pattern giveaway. That'd be a lot simpler. So anyway, I'm gonna stop here for a second and just clear up a little bit and make sure that I've talked about everything that I need to talk about, and then we'll talk about just real quickly about my recent acquisitions. So the new items that I just treated myself to, I couldn't resist. Talked about how I miss knitting with the straight Knit Picks needles. I decided to go ahead and place an order with Knit Picks, and they were having a sale that I couldn't pass up. Got the whole set of the rainbow needles, ranging in size from a US 4 to a US 11. In fact, the size 5s is missing here because that's what I'm using for another project. I haven't cast on yet. It's actually the shawl that I talked about last episode, which is the sister shawl to the Alaska shawl that I'm going to be giving to my friend Cindy. I'll be seeing her in a few weeks, and I've already kicked up the yarn for me, and I'm going to cast on the Close to You shawl. I've already kitted that up, and the needles are in there, but I haven't started the shawl yet because I was busy with these other things. So yeah, so now I've got the full set. I keep them here. I had 7s and 8s, but I was missing the 4 and the 5. So I believe they were 30 or 40% off, and then they had free shipping. So yeah, I had to splurge and get these to add to my needle collection. This is what I got that I'm really thrilled that I was able to snag one, because these are, once they're announced that he has them on their website for sale, they go fast. I got a chip basket in this beautiful golden color. It's a quilted bag, and it's Chip from Fiber Hustle. They have a podcast here on YouTube. They've been podcasting for a while. Chip is a quilter and the bag maker, and Aaron is the yarn dyer. And I've picked up you know, that little chippy basket I already had, and I wanted to get this size up. And with it, I ordered one of their progress keepers or stitch markers. No, it's this, yeah, progress or stitch marker. That's their logo right there. And I got just a little sample of this yarn, golden kelp yarn. It's a mini, it's a fingering weight mini. I wanted to see what the yarn looked like. It's a little bit more green that's what's showing up on the camera, but it is so pretty. I might end up getting a full skein of this yarn. So that's my little treat. The bag from Chip. Also the button on the top has got their logo. If you don't follow them, go on over and give them a follow on Instagram. Also, I believe they have a Facebook page, so it's Fiber Hustle, and obviously here on YouTube. So I'll wrap up by saying thank you for being with me again today. Thank you for leaving your comments. Please like, subscribe, share, and I look forward to having you back. For my Portuguese friends, muito obrigada por mais uma vez assistir aqui comigo e pela sua companhia. Até a próxima. Until next time. Obrigada.